Set in the early 20th century, a widowed midwife and a grizzled detective team up to try to solve murder cases in the boiling melting pots of New York City. Along the way, they find the good, the bad, and the evil in humanity. Most important of all, they find love for each other while trying to bring justice to the broken. This is a classic whodunit murder mystery with a lot of culture and history sprinkled in the mix. When an ex-prostitute is murdered supposedly by her former lover, the only person who cares about solving her murder is Sarah Brandt, a local midwife with ties to the police. Sarah is headstrong and determined to find justice for Amelia Donato, an Italian immigrant with a troubled past. After identifying her body at the city morgue, she insists to her friend, Detective Sergeant Frank Malloy, to take the case. He begrudgingly agrees after he fears for Sarah's safety and warns her not to get involved. With no prime suspects and hardly any clues, his superiors order him to shelve the case. Furious with these results, Sarah decides to volunteer at an all-girls prodigal son mission on Mulberry Bend, the last home Amelia had before she was killed. Conflicted with his feelings for Sarah and her desire for justice, Malloy continues to investigate Amelia Donato's murder on the side, as well as take another personal case, the investigation to find who killed Dr. Tom Brandt, Sarah's deceased husband. Now, for some of the positives of this story, I loved how Victoria Thompson always kept me guessing on who the murderer was. I always felt I was a co-detective with Malloy and Sarah trying to make mental notes of potential suspects, motives, and clues. I really thought the murder weapon was unique. Killing someone with a 20th century hat pin is devious and specific to the time period our characters would have lived in. I'm not a huge fan of the romance novels, tropes, but I liked how the relationship between Malloy, Sarah, and Richard Dennis were handled. They weren't overly sappy, and I felt that the characters reacted in realistic ways. I liked how Victoria Thompson allowed me to hate Richard, then care for him, and then feel devastated when he was killed off in the end. I liked how his character was redeemed and he totally died a hero. I had very few negatives for this review. I kind of called who the murderer was going to be initially, but I was glad to have been led astray thinking about other potential suspects. I thought Sarah's arc was weak. She wants to do something more important with her life, was kind of silly. She thinks she hasn't really made an impact in the people of New York City when she's a midwife. She's delivering babies, for crying out loud. But it is a way for her to interact with more of the characters at the prodigal son mission, where she meets the girls and, tries to piece the puzzles of Amelia's life to see who had grudges with her and who may have wanted her dead. Mrs. Wells being passively aggressive to Sarah right from the get-go immediately brought up red flags in me, and my suspicions about her character turned out to be correct. I wish it was just done with more subtlety. My main issues with the book was pacing. This book kind of slogs along, and I wish it had more suspense to keep me on my toes. All in all, I would give this book a 3.9 out of 5. I did think the previous book, Murder on Washington Square, was a better narrative, but I definitely believe the ending of Murder on Mulberry Bend makes up for its shortcomings. I would say to you all, read it. If you guys have any other murder mystery novels you would recommend me reading, please leave it in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you on the next case.